stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have a statement of meeting procedures read by our county clerk.
Welcome to the Placer County Board of Supervisors meeting of Tuesday, February 25th, 2014. Agendas are available on the wall outside this meeting room. If you are here to speak on an issue not appearing on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment period. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker. The board is not permitted to take action on items addressed under public comment. When you speak, clearly state your name and address for the record. All items on the agenda will be open for the public to address before final action is taken. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker, which will be monitored by a timer on the podium. If there is a person speaking on behalf of a group with no other testimony from another member of the group, please identify yourself as such, and your time may be extended at the pleasure of the board.
Okay.
Keep in mind that the chairman has discretion of limiting the total discussion time on any item. If you are hearing impaired, we have listening devices available. It is requested that all cell phones and pagers be either turned off or put in the silent mode. Thank you for your participation and cooperation.
Great.
Chairman Duran.
Yes.
Chairman Duran, with the indulgence of the board, I would actually like to ask that our 9:20 timed item be moved up to the front of the agenda. We have a young gentleman here, Mr. Owen Shelton, being currently held in his dad's arms. This would be the commendation for the Rare Disease Day proclamation, and I would prefer to bring that forward now so that the family can get this taken care of and then go back to doing what they need to do.
Absolutely.
Is that perfectly all right with the family?
I don't see any objection from the board, so
Okay.
please proceed.
Wonderful. And so just so everyone knows, we will move to public comment, but I would really prefer to do this commendation first. So I think I want to thank Kelly Krieger for bringing to my attention that we have a fifth-generation Colfax resident here, young Mr. Owen Shelton, and he has been diagnosed with what is a very, very rare disease. And I think it's important that we take this opportunity as a body to help the family and others who have rare diseases in Placer County and throughout the area to bring this to the attention of the media and the public moving forward. I don't know, Jeff Brown, do I see you here somewhere? Jeff, did you have a, oh, okay, here we go. Looks like Mr. Wesley Nix. It's been delegated, okay. Wes, did you have some comments that you wanted to start with?
Oh, just briefly, I just wanted to thank the board and you, Supervisor Montgomery, for bringing this recognition to our attention to bring this proclamation forward for Rare Disease Day. As the National Institute of Health established to raise awareness of these rare conditions that are often affect children and whole families with challenges and difficulties that I can only imagine how difficult they are to deal with. And I think your actions today in recognizing these conditions helps to raise awareness and focus on the conditions and gives courage to the families that have been afflicted by this. And I thank and applaud you for your efforts.
Thank you. So what I'll do is I will start by reading the commendation, and then I'd love it if you would come forward and make some comments of your own. It's a great opportunity for you to really get your message out beyond us, but I want to start by thanking you for your strength and your bravery in coming here today, because I know that this can't be easy, but we're here to try to make all our constituents' lives better, whether they're old enough to vote or not. So thank you. So what I have here is a proclamation that says, in the manner declaring February 28th, 2014 as Rare Disease Day, whereas Rare Disease Day was established by the National Institutes of Health to raise public awareness about rare diseases, the unique challenges encountered by people who are affected by them, and the importance of research to develop and improve diagnostic tools and treatments. And whereas the focus of Rare Disease Day 2014 is to encourage researchers to work closely with patients and patient advocacy groups to maximize chances for success. And whereas there are about 7,000 rare diseases identified in the United States, about 80% of rare diseases are genetic in origin, and it is estimated that about half of those rare diseases affect children. And whereas, although rare diseases can be chronic, progressive, debilitating, disabling, severe, and life-threatening, information about them is often scarce and research is usually insufficient. And whereas people affected by rare diseases face challenges such as delays in obtaining a diagnosis, misdiagnosis, unique psychological challenges, and lack of support services for the patient and family,
She's in the back.
as whereas by highlighting these issues, the National Institutes of Health and the Office of Rare Disease Research will raise awareness of rare diseases, strengthen the voice of patients and patient advocacy groups, give hope and information to patients, bring stakeholders closer together, coordinate policy actions within the United States and with other countries, inspire continued growth of the awareness of rare diseases, emphasize rare disease research and the search for new therapeutics, and get equality in access to care and treatment. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Placer County Board of Supervisors proclaims February 28, 2014 as Rare Disease Day in support of the National Institute of Health's Office of Rare Disease Research in their goal for rare disease patients to obtain the highest attainable standard of health. Thank you both.
Himself, and then we have a basket for you.
Yeah.
Present this to you. We'll get some photos here, if we may, if you don't mind, seeing in the newspaper. Hold that one. And then I would just love it if you would take the opportunity to give us some words about the challenges that you've faced particularly and how we can all help with it, not just us at the Board of Supervisors, but all of us today. And thank you.
I want to thank you so much for giving me the time to talk about Owen and the challenges we've gone through, and recognizing this day that little did we know would be a big part of our lives. When my husband and I were married 3 years ago and wanting a large family, it seemed like a long year, and we finally found out we were pregnant with our first child. We did all the tests and found out we were having a healthy boy. On Mother's Day, May 13th, 2012, Owen was born. He was perfect. For the first 9 months, we watched him as he grew healthy, hit all of his milestones, rolling, crawling, reaching up, eating solid foods. But about 9 months, we realized he wasn't playing patty cake as much, and he was losing some of his strength. So we immediately went to his doctor, who referred us to a neurologist. He started running tests, and we were hopeful at first, but then the little tests turned into many. The neurologist turned into a team of specialists. Weeks turned into months. No one knew what Owen had. And as they started getting into the realm of the uncurable, we found out at 16 months old, Owen had a rare genetic disorder called GM1. It's a disorder in which enzymes build up in the brain due to the lack of an enzyme that's job is to break it down. So he'll lose his abilities slowly as the enzymes grow in his brain. There's no cure, and there's no time limit on how long his body will be able to handle that. That was a crush to hear that, to see our perfectly healthy boy find out he has that. So at that time, we reached out to UCSF, who we were working with, and they told us there was nothing that they could do. There was nothing that they would recommend because they promote quality of life. They wanted us to play symptom management, basically, as things arose, as seizures came, take care of it. We could not take that as an answer. So luckily, by fate, a doctor that we didn't even need several months before had recommended us to a neurologist that we heard was amazing. When we told him the news of Owen, he said, "We cannot give up." And he searched and searched until he found the University of Minnesota, who are the only people in the United States right now currently treating this disorder. It's not long-term, but they're hoping that it'll slow the regression. So now we're working with a group of doctors who are familiar with this disorder. I'm in contact with a few families. There's about 3 who have children with GM1. And they're really helping us get through this. Being a parent of a child with a disability, I have found, is very hard. And especially a rare disorder has been a very big challenge, finding doctors who know about it and who are willing to treat it. Just going to a regular doctor's visit, the list of medications I have to give and the symptoms that he has before they even want to look at him is amazing. So that's why I'm here today and thanking you for recognizing this special day, because the only way we're going to raise awareness is getting it out into the public, and you never know who this is going to reach, whether it be a doctor, a scientist, or a pharmacist who might know something that could help. So I ask that on February 28th, Rare Genetic Disease Day, that you support it. And the national way to support it is by wearing jeans or a jean ribbon. And it will help families get the support and increase the health care for rare genetic diseases. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Katie.
you.
I really want to thank the both of you for being brave enough to come forward, and for your family, and again, Kelly, for bringing this to my attention. So often there are challenges facing folks in our communities that we're just not aware of, and while we're not doctors or geneticists or any of that, there are things that we can do to help, and I know that it's all our goal to make sure we do all we can. So on Friday, which I believe is the 28th, I will be wearing jeans. Not just because it's Casual Friday, but I really appreciate you coming today. I see both the Auburn Journal and K-High Radio here, so make sure you grab both of those folks. I see Mary West at the back and Gus Thompson right here. Make sure you get your message out to them as well, and want to open up to the board for any questions or comments any of you might have. Okay. Thank you all so much, and please keep in touch with us. Let us know how things are going, and my love and faith and best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Jen, did you want to, while we were on commendations, it's past 9:15, did you want to do the Farm Bureau?
Okay.
Go ahead and do that.
All right. Since it is a timed item, we do actually have a 9:15 timed item, and we will get to public comment, don't worry. This is the commendation for the Placer County Farm Bureau, and I left my glasses on the desk, so I'm going to have to walk back down here. And Joe, I think you and Sandy are coming forward for this. Come on forward. And our Ed Commissioner as well, Josh, did you want to add moral support here? Okay, excellent. So I'm absolutely, to the podium, there you go. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to do this, which is give a commendation to the Placer County Farm Bureau in honor of 100 years of agriculture in Placer County with the Farm Bureau. And I think what's really important to note is that Saturday night there was this great event at the Ridge for the 100-year celebration, but what absolutely blew my mind was our first agricultural venture in Placer County that is still going is from 1847. So if I did my math right, it's 167 years in Placer County agriculture in operation, and that's just, phenomenal when we think about how young our nation and our state is. And a lot of the reason that we still have successful agricultural ventures in Placer County is because of the support of the Farm Bureau. So I'm delighted to be able to read this today. February 4, we're a little late in delivering this to you, in the matter of a commendation in recognition of the Placer County Farm Bureau's 100th anniversary. Whereas the Agricultural Extension Service was founded by Congress in 1914 to provide a connection between the university research and the farmer. As California's land-grant university, UC Davis hosted what is now known as the Cooperative Extension Service. And whereas before the cooperative extension would bring a farm advisor into a county, a local farm organization needed to be formed. This guaranteed a channel through which county farm advisors and extension specialists could reach individual farmers and their families. A county farm bureau representing at least 20% of the farmers in the county had to be operating before a farm advisor could be appointed for the county. And whereas on October 21, 1914, a group of farmers and interested citizens met at the courthouse in Auburn for the purpose of forming the Placer County Farm Bureau and to request the services of a farm advisor. And whereas the Dean and Director of the UC Davis Agricultural Experiment Station, Thomas Forsyth Hunt, addressed the meeting, 100 members signed to establish the Placer County Farm Bureau. Directors were appointed for each of the 14 area farm centers, which collectively acted as the Farm Bureau until transportation became more widespread. We were a little rural back then. Whereas the Placer County Farm Bureau was formed in 1914 to find solutions for the farm home, and the rural community. Today, nearly 100 years later, the Placer County Farm Bureau is still serving as the voice of local agriculture by championing the industry's success through education, outreach, and political action. And whereas on July 7, 1915, the Placer County Board of Supervisors unanimously approved the petition to form the Placer County Farm Bureau and made the necessary appropriation to pay the expenses of a farm advisor, and whereas the total gross value for Placer County's agricultural products in 2007 reached almost $60 million. The top 5 agricultural crops in Placer County are rice, nursery products, cattle, timber, and walnuts. Numerous other popular and specialty crops are produced in the county, including wine grapes, mandarins, and honey through honeybees, apiary. Placer County's rolling hill landscape and semi-arid climate lend themselves to small-scale, niche market production, and our local farmers' market system is active and popular. Now, therefore, let it be known, the Placer County Board of Supervisors recognize the contribution of our farmers and ranchers as an integral thread in the fabric that is Placer County. And congratulations to the Farm Bureau on 100 years of service to the county, its residents, farmers, and ranchers. Thank you both very much. So we get a picture, and then I would love some comments from you. How about you in the middle, because you're the really tall, handsome one. You hold that.
Good job.
Delighted to be here.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Comments, please.
I'll keep it brief. First of all, obviously, I'd like to thank the entire board for your support and for this initiative and commendation. Specifically, Saturday, we had the esteemed pleasure of having Supervisor Montgomery and her staff there, Supervisor Holmes and his staff there, and Supervisor Wygant's staff was there. Also, I'd really like to just extend this out that to single folks out, Jocelyn Maddox from Supervisor Montgomery's office and then Jennifer Marino from Supervisor Wygant's office really helped us with the program and making it all tick. We had 25 of the 34 100-year families in attendance. We had a brief explanation of their operations there, and were able to, what we felt like was properly recognize their service to Placer County. As we took that walk through time, it was rather interesting and humbling that evening to see that many of those folks shaped the future of Placer County. They were not only the foundation farmers and ranchers of Placer County, but they were also instrumental in the development and progression of this county as a whole. So at 30 years old, for me, it's incredibly humbling to be able to represent this organization of 3,000 members. And lastly, I'd just like to add, as a father of four, I was really touched by Owen's family and them speaking, and how difficult it must be to stand up here and talk in front of folks about conditions of the such. And I just want that family to know that their story touched me. I don't take anything in life for granted, and I guarantee them I will be wearing jeans on February 28th. So thank you, board. Thank you all, and we appreciate this very much.
Great. We're now going to move on to our public comment. Anyone who has comments to make that are not agendized may come up and make your comments. Please come on up. State your name and where you're from. And
Good morning, Honorable Chair and board members. My name is Pamela Jones, and I live in Rockland. I'm an IHSS caregiver, and I've been caring for this 93-year-old woman for the past 10 years, which her name is Jill. As caregivers, we are meeting all the daily needs that our elderly and disabled people need. The bargaining team for UDW has been bargaining with Placer County for a year and a half. It's been 5 years since we've had a raise, and our health benefits do not meet the Affordable Care Act, so we're going to have to look for health care somewhere else. Currently, providers make $10 an hour, which is below poverty level, even if you're working full-time. Additionally, we do not receive paid holidays, sick pay, bereavement, or retirement plans. Our bargaining team has repeated accommodations and compromises at a wage increase that's fair and reasonable. Our most recent proposal is a 40-cent wage increase with an additional 30 cents to replace the Public Authority Health Benefits Program, which previously puts towards health care. This will increase the provider's wages to $10.70. So what is the actual cost? With the number of hours caregivers are currently paid in Placer County, it would cost approximately $172,000 per year to fund this pay increase. That is money that gets reimbursed to the county from the state realignment money, and with the $342,000 Placer County gets through Community First Choice funding, the rates could be fully funded for 2 years without any impact on your general fund. I know that you're also trying to get a raise for the work that you do for our community, and I hope that you will consider giving us a raise for the important work that we do in our community. It is time for you as leaders to take a stand and do what's right and put people first. Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Cindy Chapman. I'm a mother of 5 children, ages 15 to 33. I'm also a caregiver for my 24-year-old son, Nathan, who has mild cerebral palsy with mental retardation, which causes him to operate at approximately a 6-year-old level. Nathan is an incredibly innocent and loving young man, and I'm very glad to have the opportunity to care for him in our own home. He requires constant supervision and care and needs help with things that most of us take for granted, like taking a bath, preparing a meal. He also has delayed speech, and we're currently working on getting him a communication device to help him communicate with others. He goes to a day program that he really enjoys, and he has friends there that he loves to talk about his favorite things like movies and video games. Being a provider is something that I really love, but it comes with certain challenges and sacrifices. Typically, as your kids get older, you have the opportunity to do other things with your life, like retire, go on vacation, seek another career. I don't have those opportunities. I'm tied into his schedule. There's not really any flexibility in that. If I do want to take a vacation or even a weekend away, there are difficulties with that make it more costly and really hard to plan, either to take him with me or to provide other care for him while I'm gone. IHSS is a very important program to me and my family. Without it, I don't know how we'd put food on the table. We've already experienced cut in hours from the state level, and our wages have held steady for the last 5 years, which means that we're struggling to pay our mortgage. I don't even want to think what would happen if we were to lose our home. Now that Nathan's an adult, it would terrify me to put him in a care home with strangers. He's my son. The best provider for him is me in our home. This program keeps thousands of Placer County residents in their homes where they're well cared for and can live safely and with dignity. Please put people first and invest in our home care. Thank you.
Good morning.
Sir.
My name is Doug Moore, and I'm the Executive Director of the United Domestic Workers, and we will be supporting National Rare Gene Day as well, because a lot of our members deal with difficult situations. We just heard testimony from one just now. Before I talk about Placer County, I wanted to give you some information that just recently happened in Santa Clara County, where they reached a tentative agreement with their home care providers. The agreement will strengthen the program by investing in additional training and also providing community outreach to increase the public's awareness on long-term care, because people are living longer and these programs are out there for them. Their pay, it's a 3-year agreement, and at the end of that 3 years, they'll be making $13 an hour. And there's over 17,000 home care providers in Santa Clara County. I know this isn't Santa Clara County, but just giving you some context. There are over 4,000 caregivers and IHSS recipients in Placer County. We are thankful to those in the community who are standing with us today, and thank you for your support. We're also here with the people who are able to survive and thrive thanks to the IHSS program. And lastly, we're here with caregivers who make sure our loved ones and neighbors can live in dignity in their own homes. People like Gene Maraba, an 82-year-old former test pilot who started out as a caregiver for his wife and continues to care for people in our community even after his wife has passed away. We are all in this together, and we're sticking together. You know, budgets are about priorities, just like in Santa Clara. And as elected officials, the number one priority should be the people, just like in Santa Clara. We understand you want to be responsible stewards of the county resources, and we support you in this. Smart budgeting means investing in our families and our neighbors. It means protecting our most vulnerable citizens, just like in Santa Clara. We won't sit back and while the county has hundreds of thousands of dollars yet tell caregivers there's no money to pay them a living wage. We certainly know that's not the truth. And as people who are seeking a raise yourselves in recognition for the important work that you do, I hope you can appreciate the importance of a raise for people in your county who work more than full-time and yet still struggle to put food on their table. And we're in this for the long haul, as long as it takes, until families who are struggling to survive on just $10 an hour win justice, until our elderly citizens don't have to worry about being forced into a nursing home. And we're not going to wait to 2015, because we've already waited 5 long years. 5 long years. And we're counting on you to do the right thing, to do the job you were elected to do, which is put people first so that we can live in a county we can all be proud of, just like in Santa Clara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. My name's Henry Boisvert. I live in Granite Bay, and I feel for the couple that has their child and also the other people that were ill. My fiance and I, she just got cancer. So we're fighting the same battle. She's from China. We've been together 11 years. And we had an unexpected guest this week. He's staying with us for a week. He's traveling around the world. His name is Mr. Lee Wenke. Wenker, excuse me. And my fiancée, Ling Chi, and the advisor to Mr. Keith, Dwayne. We're here unexpectedly, and we really appreciate you giving us the time. He's going around the world and representing the symbol of Fu, which is good meaning, prosperity to you, and welcome to the community of their spirit of peace with China. And he's been to Russia, the president, to the king of Saudi Arabia, and several other places. So I just happened to mention maybe we could talk to the Board of Supervisors, and he wants to present the symbol of Fu, which is what he does. He is the renowned expert in the world of Fu, of the symbol, and he wants to present it and make it for you to present to the county. He's going around to many places in the world and trying to better relations to other countries. So he'd like to actually make the symbol for you right now and present it to the Placer County.
Please. I believe this is going to take about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it should take 5-10 minutes at most. Pretty fast. And he's actually visited several mayors already in this past week and businesses, and we went to Google yesterday. And okay, Mr. Lee. Thank you very much.
I got to put some addition. Actually, Mr. Lee's Fu also broke the world record, became largest Fu. So in 2012, yeah, then from like more than 20 country artists, but Mr. Lee got a certificate. So I hope his show bring everyone happiness and bring out the friendship between American fellow and the Chinese fellows. Yes. Thank you
Well, thank
so
you
much.
very much.
I don't know if people want to come around and watch how he does it. He's the only one in the world that does this. It's kind of a unique thing, and he has his stamps of approval. But I'll just add a couple more things about him. He's a world record creator. This is called calligraphy, brush painting. He's known as the Fu Star in all of China. He's created a calligraphy school in Chinese. He's pioneered development of culture in the Chinese community with the blessing and integration of the art and Zen culture. He also started the Zhu Fen School, which is a far-reaching influence to children as well as adults. And he's a member of many painting associations. He was also the mayor of Haicheng. He stepped down a year ago just to go on travel to promote the book for China that he wrote. Has over 1,000 symbols, and this Fu has over 100 symbols that he created. So he's a very renowned expert in that field.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and on behalf of the Placer County Board of Supervisors, I'd like to present you a gift, an exchange for this wonderful design. So,
Thank you so much.
and I do believe there is food here.
哎呀，谢谢谢谢，好，好，好，好。
Bring more happiness.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, would like to
What-
hold
wanted
on
another
the
picture,
photo?
sure.
Yes.
我把这个，哎，先把这个拿给大家拿一张符照一下，
Put his stamp.
咱俩拿
Okay.
送给
It's
送
so
那符。
important, the stamp.
Oh, is he going to bring it?
That stamp with a lot of meaning. Yeah, the stamp from #1 Buddha in China. Yeah, so very powerful.
别稍等。 现在我把它拿下来。把那拿下来。
Thank you very much.
I'd like to say thank you to the board for letting us come in this unexpected time so quickly, and thank Mr. Lee because we're trying to build relations for the United States and China, and he's a great representative. Thank you.
Great.
Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, 谢谢，谢谢。
Thank you. We are now going to move on to our supervisor committee reports. Oh, do we have any more public comment? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thanks. Good morning.
Sure, good morning.
Placer County Board of Supervisors. My name is Abigail Fawcett, and I've been a care provider for my autistic son, who's now 23 since 1995. And so there's a few familiar faces to me. Supervisor Wayne Gant's one of them, and I believe curriculars in my district. The reason I'm here today is basically I'm kind of a firm believer in when it's time to do the right thing if at all possible. And so today I'm here trying to do that. I recognize I grew up in Placer County, Rockland, Loomis, Auburn, Forest Hill. I've been all over the gamut, lived here really much all my life, live in Rockland currently. And one of the realities that's been hitting me recently is the cost of living. It's become expensive. Now, for the first time in my life, in the last since 96, I've actually had to consider vacating Rockland. Can't live there. It's a nice community, and I know that. The reason I mention that is a couple of years ago, the state did an arbitrary hours reduction on us, which forced our wages down. Even though the hours, the amount we paid is the same, it's the hours were reduced down. However you want to cut that, slice it, it means we don't get the money that we got. We have within the county, within this particular job, had been without a raise, as you've heard and know. Basically, what I'm here to speak to is, I hear about the distance between the haves and the have-nots growing. It's become very clear to me. I've been a part of the haves, and I've also been around the have-nots. I mean, I've had to live that. I am conservative in nature, all kinds of things. It was never my intent to have to, and I'm just being very honest, join an organized union. But I've been very thankful. I got to tell you, if it had not been for this program, back in 1995, the mom that sat here and the dad, I related to that. When my son was diagnosed in 1995 with autism, I was very alone. There just wasn't other people with it. What is he? He's artistic. He's what? Nobody had it. So she tugged at my heart because I one time knew what that felt like. Now today, everybody's got autism. Back then, they didn't. If and until we reach a point where the state closes the floodgates from having people come in from other states to the rescue state of California for developmental disabilities, and Placer County has it down pretty good. We're not so affordable that, you guys are going to have all kinds of people coming over here to get on this program, so to speak. I'm actually looking at if I can stay here. I don't think that the amount that's being asked for, given the breakdown with the insurance, I mean, for myself, that amount allows me to go and get on to the subsidized, which I was not a fan of that, but, again, I speak for myself. The subsidized, I've already checked onto it. I can get onto, I think, my autistic son, myself, and my 20-year-old daughter can all get on a program. I'll be
Please
quick.
continue.
Okay, thanks. And basically all I want to say is that that's kind of the real life reality of what plays out for me. And I am also have been trying so hard to get to a point where I at some point maybe don't need to rely on solely on the program. Just isn't happening. I was in 2 car accidents, neither of which was my fault over the last 10 years. It just threw me back. I now have hit about midlife. I'm dealing with some issues there. The stress of caregiving over time, and I got to tell you, I just don't know the amount when you're talking about dollars just to even afford the gas that's gone up and the housing costs. The stress, it's the stress. Unbelievable what it does. I've gotten really good at handling things. I reach out for help when I need to. I've got a mom now who's older, and I'm helping care for her, but I'm balancing it better. Why? Because I've been down this road already. I know. So I know back in, when we were first forming in this county, and the Placer County guys did, he stepped up and did the right thing and helped us to get launched, and I was part of that, and I was very thankful. And I have always been thankful for this program. I don't know what I would have done without it. In the meantime, I just basically want to ask if you guys could really look at this kind of in that perspective, like the cost of living. I don't mean just cost of living like gas, rents, mortgages and things. I know that's kind of all over the board depending on different situations. If you could look at that and recognize that I don't think anybody's asking for top dollar here. We were asking for 11, but now we've reduced it down to 1070 with some things in there. It would mean the world. I know to me, it would mean a couple $100 a month. That makes the difference on whether I got to call in and say, and all my money stays locally. The only thing that leaves is my car payment goes to Texas. That's the only thing. Everything else stays locally. I don't really shop on the internet. So that's where I'm at. So, I mean.
Ma'am, if we could.
Yeah, I pretty much said everything I needed to say. That's all I wanted to say. I just want to ask you guys if you could, go ahead and help move them along with the negotiating committee, because it's exhausting to wait out this time. I've already told my union what I would like them to do if this doesn't proceed, and I just want this to come to a conclusion, and where we get honored and respected that way, with what the kind of jobs that we do. So,
thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good morning.
Morning,
Thank you for the opportunity to speak for just a moment. I'm the Gene Morava that was mentioned earlier, the test pilot years ago. I've been a caregiver for 4 people, seniors in our community. I started my career when my wife's Parkinson's disease got so bad that it was clear I could no longer keep working outside of our home. After almost 41 years of marriage, she passed away in 2010. My experience caring for her showed me that in-home caring is so important to preserve the dignity of the people that have the needs. I'm 82 years old. I decided to continue working. I was 79 when my wife passed, of course, and I said that I would keep returning to the communities the care that they gave to her while she was in her last years. As a test pilot, I tested airplanes for the manufacturers, and what they called subcontractors to the Navy. I was a civilian pilot. Shortly before we got married, I was a consultant, and then I started caring for my wife when it became obvious that she needed more than just the 4 to 6 hours that could be paid for by me to have someone come in and help her. It's important to continue this work for the elderly or just the disabled folks that have a problem, because there are young people that have the problems that they cannot get around, they can't talk, they can't feed themselves, and everything else. And until that happens to us personally, we don't have feelings. So it's important that we continue this work. I've grown very close to the families that I've been with. I presently have 5 people I take care of. I've had 2 of them that have passed away. They were young. That's hard to take. When you see them every week, every day of every week, and then all of a sudden you come to the door, there's nobody there. So in your hearts, think about it. An increase in the payment to the workers to provide the care would be well spent for people taking care of people. You never know when it's going to become our turn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we will thank you very much for your comments. We're going to move on to our supervisors' committee reports. None? Robert? Supervisor Montgomery?
I probably will share this with Supervisor Holmes, but we did get out to Washington, D.C. for our annual legislative outreach trip, and just very briefly, we met with, we participated in 17 meetings. We touched on 8 key program areas, 25 specific programs and projects ranging from economic development to public safety, and had some really very good, surprisingly good meetings, I would say. I think it's important that we've established a history and connection with a lot of the folks that we meet with, so they are already reasonably aware of the projects and proposals and policies that we're working on, which is very helpful in not having to bring folks up to speed, but to really be able to do the appropriate outreach to them to let them know where we've moved since the previous year. Had a, I think, particularly good meeting with our congressman. Congressman McClintock was very receptive. And in fact, we were very pleasantly surprised that he indicated that he would be willing to send a letter in support of a Tiger grant that we're applying for. And so we will be following up on that, needless to say. Supervisor Holmes, was there anything you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let me just say that it was a very successful trip. The Department of Agriculture, and I'm sorry that the Placer Farm Bureau isn't here, but we actually, Supervisor Montgomery presented the plans for slaughterhouse in the regional slaughterhouse, and they were excited. They were really engaged and excited that we have this opportunity to move forward with that. And we're meeting with USDA and Davis now to bring that forward, but it's much needed slaughterhouse for sheep and lambs and cattle, chickens as well throughout the area. So anyhow, I think that was the most surprising part, and we did have a very productive meeting with Congressman McClintock and Congressman LaMalfa and also with Senator Feinstein's staff and Senator Boxer's staff. So all in all, it's a pretty good trip in spite of having to be snowed in. We survived. Thank you.
Great. Supervisor Euler, any comment? None? Great. I don't have any reports either. I'm going to go ahead and jump to our 9:40 timed item, Community Development Resource Agency, Planning, Public Hearing, Transitional and Supportive Housing Zoning Text Amendment. Do you want to do the consent first?
Sure. Yeah, because we got a few people.
Okay, all right.
While they're coming up.
All right, great. We'll go ahead and do consent. And our consent agenda, we're going to eliminate or pull out 16A, 16B, and 16C because we have to do that under the guise of a public county, Placer County successor agency. So.
Move approval of the remaining items.
Great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call. I'm sorry.
Montgomery?
Yes.
Vicant? Yes. Holmes? Yes. Euler? Duran?
Yes. Great. Now we will convene as the Placer County successor agency for items 16A, 16B, and 16C.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Roll call.
Or roll call. I'm sorry. Another.
Montgomery?
Yes.
Vicant?
Yes.
Holmes? Yes. Euler? Duran?
Yes. Great. Okay, now we will move to our 9:40 timed item, Community Development Resource Agency, Planning, Public Hearing, Transitional and Supportive Housing Zoning Text Amendment.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Crystal Jacobson with Placer County Planning Services Division, and I'm here today to present a zoning text amendment for transitional and supportive housing. Just to give you a little background, in 2007, Senate Bill 2 was passed, which clarified and strengthened housing law related to transitional and supportive housing. And then your board approved a zoning text amendment in 2011 to reflect those changes that came about as a result of Senate Bill 2. So basically we added definitions, we set use permit requirements and limits on the number of clients at that time. However, when we were undertaking our housing element update, which came before your board at the end of 2013 and was certified by HCD on November 22nd, it was brought to our attention by HCD that the code that was reflecting transitional and supportive housing was inconsistent with the state law. So while we thought we were bringing something before you in 2011, a code amendment to bring our zoning code into compliance with state law, it was actually a little bit inconsistent. So as a result of that, we included a program F8, in our housing element update, which would remedy this, and it says the county shall amend the zoning code to ensure that transitional and supportive housing are treated as residential uses, subject only to the same restrictions that apply to other residential uses in the same type in the same zone. So essentially what we did initially is we included these as uses in our zoning code, and in fact they are not to be treated as uses, they are to be treated as an occupancy type, so they could take the shape of any type of residential use. So you're not supposed to call them out as a use. So what we, just to talk a little bit about what these types of houses, the occupancy types are. Transitional housing is limited, typically limited to 24 months. Services are offered, participation is required. Examples of these in the county are Hope, Help, Healing, Peace for Families. Supportive housing has no limit, so it could be a permanent housing type. Services are offered, but participation is not required, and examples are adult system of care, various facilities throughout Placer County. So with this code change, we are not prohibiting these types of occupancy housing. We're simply redefining them in our code. And so what we do here is we add, this is showing up, but we add some language here in the red that's underlined that basically says it could take the form of any type of residential use. So it would be allowed where single family and multifamily uses are allowed under our code today. Did the same thing here for transitional housing. So these are the two definition changes that we're proposing. And then here in our, you can see this is what was proposed and approved by your board in 2011. where we had these uses down here at the bottom, the supportive housing and transitional housing. And so with this change being proposed today, we are striking those out, consistent with what HCD brought to our attention, that those should be out of the ordinance. And so they could take the shape of these other types of uses that you see here at the top, so multifamily or residential. I would like to point out, too, that apparently we were not the only jurisdiction that had done this, so it was throughout the state jurisdictions had approached this in a fashion that wasn't consistent with state law. So with that, we did bring this forward to our Planning Commission on January 9th, and they voted to recommend approval of this to your board. And so we bring forward the Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt the proposed zoning text amendment as contained in your staff report package. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So just to cut to the chase here, all we're doing if we adopt this is making sure that our code is consistent with state law.
Correct.
That's pretty much it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is second. Oh, it's a public hearing. Do we have any folks, members of the public, that would like to comment on this proposed action? Okay, we don't. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you so much. We're now going to move on to our departmental items. Our item number 4, administrative services, competitive bid, purchase various types of vehicles, Public Works District Attorney. Brett Wood and John Manning.
Good morning, Chairman Duran, Supervisors. We're here today, my name is Brett Wood, I'm a purchasing manager, and with me is Mr. John Manning, one of the buyers in the procurement division. We're here today to recommend an approval of competitive bid number 10323 to various vendors within Placer County for various vehicles in the aggregate amount of $722,866. We're also requesting to use the cooperative agreement of the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, the 1122 program. This is the public safety program for California to purchase additional vehicles through the state procurement process. And we're requesting that we purchase some of our vehicles through that in an amount of $222,666. Mr. John Manning will give some background to this, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Good morning. The Department of Public Works and the District Attorney's Office submitted requests to purchase various types of passenger vehicles, including mid and full-size 2- and 4-wheel drive pickup trucks, cab and chassis trucks, mini and full-size cargo vans, mid and full-size sport utility vehicles, and mid-size 5-passenger sedans. Procurement Services developed competitive bid number 10323, which was distributed via the county's e-procurement system to 70 potential bidders and was also posted on the county's website. 30 bidders viewed the bid online, and a total of 7 responsive bids were received. A summary of the bid evaluation is included with this agenda item for your review. The bid results show that Future Ford of Roseville is the lowest responsive bidder for 8 vehicle packages representing 28 vehicles total, and Albany Ford Subaru is the lowest responsive bidder for 1 vehicle package representing 1 vehicle. The District Attorney's Office requested that the vehicles listed in bid packages 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11 not be awarded as their vehicle requirements had changed. The District Attorney's Office requested to purchase 4 sedans and 4 sport utility vehicles utilizing the current California Governor's Office of Emergency Services 1122 Public Safety Procurement Program. This program satisfies the requirements of the Competition and Contracting Act and the Federal Acquisition Regulations. This program has proven to be a very valuable tool to purchase vehicles in small quantities due to the leverage pricing obtained by the state. Historically, Procurement Services has not obtained lower pricing than the 1122 program for similar vehicle requests and recommends that the vehicles for the District Attorney's Office be purchased using the 1122 program. The Purchasing Policy Manual allows the county to make purchases using other governmental agency agreements without further competition. Procurement Services also spoke with several vendors prior to this meeting to determine why other local vendors did not participate in the bid. It was determined that the timing of the county's bid solicitation posed too great of a challenge for most of the local vendors to prepare a response due to the large volume of vehicle sales that occur at the end of the calendar year.
Procurement Services will be working with the Department of Public Works to shift the timing of the county's vehicle bid so that the vendors have sufficient time to prepare a response prior to the end of the calendar year. We request your board's approval to award purchase orders for these vehicles in the maximum aggregate amount of $945,532 and authorize the purchasing manager to sign the resulting purchase orders and related documents. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Looking for a motion and a second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I'm going to turn this over to our county counsel, Jerry Carden, who's going to talk about our closed session.
The board will now adjourn to closed session for a conference with legal counsel to discuss one item of litigation, Verizon versus State Board of Equalization, for a conference with real property negotiators to discuss two items under negotiation, two properties under negotiation, and for a conference with labor negotiators to discuss PPO negotiations.
How long do you think?
The board has returned from closed session where, in a conference with legal counsel, they authorized the county to authorized county counsel to represent the county in the Verizon action. On two matters of real property negotiation, the board gave direction to its real property negotiators. And in a conference with labor negotiators, the board heard a status report. That concludes the closed session report.
David, Mike, sorry.